everybody. Welcome to Fostering Quality Schools, the Returns Chronicles. I have Jeremy Powell here. He's my wonderful colleague. And Jeremy, how long have we known each other? It's got to be...
Goes back a long ways, 12, 15 years.
Has to be. You were a social studies teacher, I believe, right? In the high school when I met you.
High school social studies. Yep.
Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. So Jeremy is a superintendent now in Northern California. And Jeremy, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is in your school district, and tell us your district name and what your district's like? And
Sure. Yeah, Joe, thank you for having me on. I am the superintendent of Hamilton Unified School District. We are located about 90 miles north of Sacramento, right in the middle of the Sacramento Delta River area. We are very rural. We have the town of Chico that is about 20 miles to our east, has a population of about 80,000. We have, like I said, Sacramento to our south, about an hour and a half. The district is comprised of 700 students. We have a K-8, a high school, a continuation school, and an adult school. So we have quite the variety. We serve from TK through and beyond 12. So that's Hamilton Unified.
Jeremy, is this your first year as superintendent in the district?
This. I've had some very unique opportunities. I moved actually about 300 miles, my family, and this is my first year. We've had a tremendous year, and things were going just amazingly well. And then COVID-19 hit, and it all kind of changed right there. March 16th, March 17th was our first day of closure, and since then we have just been working to serve our students in our community.
So how's the impact of the COVID shutdown been on the school district?
It's been very difficult. One of the things that has quickly become apparent is the term the digital divide. We have students that have high-speed, reliable internet. We have students that have devices, and we have other students that have no devices. We have some students we've realized that can't get high-speed internet where they are. We're such a rural area, and we are out in the rice paddies. We're out in just rural Northern California, and so even with hotspots, even with the best technology we have, we're really struggling to give students equity of technology, and moving into our distance learning mode really presented a huge challenge. One with the technology and just getting the students the devices and getting students the reliable internet, but also with the training of our teachers. Some teachers have taken on, we have Google certified teachers, and we have other teachers that are still just evolving and beginning to learn. And so, one of the things we quickly had to do was get our teachers some training on, Google Classroom, on Zoom, on different platforms that other teachers were using, even before we could think about educating the students.
Right. How long did that take to?
Great question. We closed, like I said, our last day of school was March 16th. One of the impacts too was nutrition services. We served grab and go breakfast and lunch starting the 17th. By that next Monday, we had packets for the students to pick up, for the parents to pick up, and it took us another week until we began to get students information via Chromebooks and leveraging technology. During those 2 weeks, we really did a lot of surveys of our parents, of our students, seeing who have devices, who needs devices, who has Wi-Fi, who doesn't have Wi-Fi. And that's when that digital divide really became apparent.
When you spoke about the equity issue, about some students not having access to the internet, and that was a real challenge for you. Did you lose students too? I hear nationally that some school districts have actually lost contact with students and lost contact with families. Was that an issue that you were dealing with as well?
Thankfully, our districts, like I said, we're 700 students. And one of the things we did early on is, so we closed, it was a Monday, was our last day. Tuesday, Wednesday, I kind of gave my teachers and staff time to just catch their breath because everything was evolving and engaging at that time. And so then on Thursday and Friday, we met with our teachers And we asked, starting that next Monday, please have personal contact with all of your students via phone, via text, via email, whatever platform you usually communicate with your parents. And so I'm really proud to say that our staff and our teachers had weekly ongoing communication, not just academically, but really especially early on, just that emotional component, that
Hmm.
psychological component. And we found that that was really the theme for the rest of the school year for us. The academics somewhat took a back seat to just supporting the families. You know, the parents were scared. We were scared. We didn't really know what was going on, but you know, our like I said, our teachers and our staff really did an amazing job in engaging one-on-one with every household, every student that we had, and I'm very proud of that.
That's great. What does it look like for your return now? Is there any plans emerging, as you think about reopening? When do you reopen, in August?
Yeah,
Okay.
August. Let's see. Yeah, August 11th.
August
Um,
11th. So
yeah,
actually, that's not too far away.
no, it's not. Yeah, you know, I
Yeah.
was just on the phone with our head of our county health department today, and he was saying that we're starting to have a spike in cases in we're in Glenn County,
Hmm.
and you know, one of the early articles I read was just that the more rural counties would be hit a little bit later, and
Right.
so we're starting to see that now. I think we're up to 42 cases, and increasing daily, but
Hmm.
I spoke to him. We have created a return to school framework, and basically we're looking at three options for our return. One is a full return with health hygiene as a focus. We've installed hand sanitizer stations in all of our classrooms. We're renting hand washing stations. We have plans for social distancing as best we can. Different modes of like our lunches, different areas for different classes to go for recess. In the classroom, we're really trying to space out our student workspaces so that they're able to have as much distancing as we can. So um, that's kind of option one. Option two is this blended model, and it was really interesting through this process. We surveyed our community, surveyed our teachers, spoke to our teachers, and the recommendation came from our teachers that if we go to a blended model, which is this idea of reducing by 50% student capacity, they wanted to see, especially K-5, see their students every day. And so we have a plan, kind of an AM PM schedule where they would see half of their class in the morning. Then there would be about an hour break where the teachers would have lunch. We have custodial staff would come in, disinfect and clean everything, classrooms, doorknobs, restrooms, and then there would be the afternoon session. So actually, our K-5 students would be seen every day by their teachers. Our 6 through 12, we kind of have an A-B schedule that we're planning on. Students would come Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. They would do distance learning on the alternate days. And then Friday would be leveraged for intervention as needed, enrichment as needed, and then teacher prep time to get ready for the next week and for them to reach out to their families to make sure that they're doing okay. And then the
Yeah.
third option is distance learning, which is what we explored this last
Right.
quarter.
What do you think is going to emerge? I know it's at least 6, 7 weeks from now, but what model looks like it's emerging for you?
Yeah, you know, that's a tough question. Like I said, if you were to ask me last week, I said, okay, things look pretty stable. We're hoping we can return full, but as the COVID cases increase, I think that we may be looking more and more to blended model. We're going to decide that. We have a board meeting coming up mid-July, and so we'll make our final decision at that point as to what we're doing.
I was just reading an article last night around the COVID loss. They predict 50 up to 68% of loss in math. Specifically, it would be higher in primary children. I think the biggest grade level that'll have impact is like fifth to sixth grade in math, and then also a 30% or more loss for reading and literature. Um, but the other thing that they mentioned, which I didn't really think about, and you and your teachers, I think, did think about in your second model, is that, you know, when you had the shutdown, relationships were intact with students and teachers, right? So, I mean, that's really important. That's what teaching is all about. It's an intimate experience, and there's relationships built, and you know the strengths and weaknesses and the social emotional health of a lot of your students, and that's important for teaching. But when you go back, those relationships won't be there, right? Because everyone will be promoted and you'll have a new teacher per se, unless you do a looping, which is hard on teachers to do. But have you thought about like how, if you start remotely and you can't get to a hybrid model, on how to build and forge those relationships at all?
We've had just, you know, beginning conversations about that, what that would look like. I think everybody's preference is somehow, some way to get in person, even if it's
Right.
groups of 5 to 7 to 10 students at a time, to build that connection with your teachers. And you know, you make a great point that, you know, that is the key. That is what is most important, is building these relationships. And so, you know, we've begun those conversations. I think that as we look at if we have to go to a distance learning model, that would be something we would look to do, is bring in small groups of students at a time so they can connect with their teacher.
Right.
And you know, obviously in the blended model also, we would do something similar.
Great. Well, Jeremy, I want to thank you, and thank you for your leadership in the Hamilton Unified School District. Got that right. And
Yeah.
I hope you get some rest this summer. I know it's going to be difficult, but I'd love to check in with you again, you know, later on after school gets started, to see how you're doing. I'm sure, you know, it would be helpful to everybody else who watches these.
Oh, for sure. And I appreciate you and the time you've given, and your insight has already helped move my thought forward, from your first webinar. It was just tremendous in talking about, you know, remediation versus acceleration of student learning. And I think that's a huge impact. So thank you, Joe. And I appreciate everything you've done for me, personally, you know, personally, professionally, and I look forward to continuing learning from you.
Thanks, Jeremy.